Hi, in this video we're going to learn the basics of a powerhouse feature of Photoshop, layers. Well, what are they? How do we add them? How do we delete them? And lots more. Okay, so let's dig in. My name's Ken Fisher and this is Live Link Training. Now in this video I want to take a brief look at layers, which is really a powerhouse feature of Photoshop. Now let's start by looking at the anatomy of the layers panel. Well, over here we can see we've got a document open, we've got one layer that's opened up. Now at this side here, on the left hand side, we've got the visibility eye, and this tells us whether the layer is visible or invisible. Here we've got the thumbnail, and then over here we've got the padlock. Now the padlock's telling us that this is, well, it's locked. It's got a restricted status, and this means it's got to be the bottom layer. So we can put layers above this, but we can't put layers below this. Now this top area here, we have loads of options. I won't be going into detail in them all, but at the top here we've got a filter bar, which lets us filter out and look at different layers, different types of layer. We've got the blend modes here where it says normal. We've got the opacity and fill sliders, and then we've got some lock options. Down at the bottom of the layers panel we've got some more. We've got the trash can. Next to that we've got the new layer icon, create a new empty layer. Next to that we've got the group icon, which creates a group of layers. Next to that we've got the create new filler adjustment layer. We can add a mask, we can add a layer style, and this last one is the linked layers. Okay, way up here in the top right hand corner now we've got a little doohickey symbol here. If we click on that, we get the panel flyout menu, which gives us access to lots more menus and commands. Okay, so now we know a little bit more about the layers panel. What kind of things would we want to do with it? Well, we might want to add a new layer, and we can do that by going down and clicking on the add a new layer icon, and what that's going to do is create a new empty layer. And by empty I mean transparent, and you can tell it's transparent because of this checkerboard pattern, which is indicating transparency. Now we can rename a layer. I can go and double click and call it, let's call it my layer, and click to accept it. And it's a good habit to get into, if you can, actually renaming your layers as you go along. Now there's another way of making a new layer. I can right click and select duplicate layer, and this brings up a dialog, which again I can rename the layer if I want in here. So I'll call this my layer 2 and click OK. Now you might want to delete a layer. No longer required. How do we get rid of it? Well, we can do that a couple of ways. One of them is I'll click it and drag it and drop it in the bin, and there it was, gone. Or again, we've got the menu option. I can right click and I can select delete layer. Gives me an option. Do I really want to delete the layer? Yes I do, and there it is, gone. Now if I want to duplicate the layer itself, the actual content, then I can right click in the layer and select duplicate layer. Again it brings me up, do I want to rename it? Well, I'll just accept it as background copy. Or there is a really cool keyboard shortcut, which is Control or Command if you're on a Mac, Control and J, and that will create and put a name in for your duplicate layer. And then if I decide I've done with these, I can click and drag and drop them in the bin. Okay, let's go up and select another image. Here we've got an image that's got 4 layers in it. We've got a background layer which is locked, and we've got 3 other layers. But if we look here in the image we can't see anything, and this is because the visibility eye is turned off. So if I go and click to bring that back, we can see we've got a red square. And I'll click on this one and we've got some green, and we'll click on this one and we've got some blue. Now these pixels are on different layers, so we can move them independently, and this is part of the beauty of layers. Now a little trick is, if you click on an image, it will view the pixel that's immediately underneath that, so sometimes you can move things that you don't want to move. Just a little flag is, if we go up to this top corner here on the left hand corner, there's a little tick box called auto select, and I would recommend that you have that ticked, and then whatever you click on, it will move that for you. So here, if I click on this red piece, you see I can move this round. Click on the green, I can move the green round, and click on the blue, I can move the blue round. Now we've got these in a certain order, and obviously if you imagine your eye is up at the top looking down, so the first one you see is the red, the second one you see is the green, and the third one is the blue. Now with nothing in between them, it looks as though they're on one sheet of paper, but they are actually in a stack. This is called the layer stack. Now if I go and select the red layer and I drag it down here, you can see at the moment now it goes in front of the green. Wherever we've got red, we cannot see the green through it. And if I drag that blue one, you'll see that the blue actually goes underneath the green because it's lower down in the stack, it's underneath. Now you can change the order of things. So if I want the red one to be basically below the green, I can click the layer and drag it, and when I get it to that, you see that double line appear underneath the green, I let go, the red is now underneath the green. And if I wanted the blue now to be above the red, I could click and drag it and drop it, and now the blue will be above the red. Now it's made no difference at the moment, but if I now drag that blue, you'll see that it's actually above the red because it's above it in the stack. Now I'll just move them around a little bit, because you can see we're looking at moving those all independently. But you can link layers together, so if you had a set of layers that you wanted to keep in a certain position, what we could do is we'll select all the layers, and I'll do that by clicking on the top one and shift clicking on the bottom layer, and then I can go down to the link icon, and if I click that one, these layers are now linked together. So I can now go over to make sure auto select is ticked, and when I move them, it moves them all. And now to unlink them, I just go and click the link icon again to unlink and deselect them, and then I can move them all independently again. Now you may want all these three to be in a group. When you've developed maybe 20, 30, 100 layers, it may be useful to put them into little groups, and it's basically just like having a folder and putting them in a folder. So again, if I want all these to go into one group to tidy my layer stack up, I'll click on the first one and I'll shift click on the last one to select them, and then I'll go down and I'll select the group icon here, create a new group, and that now puts them all in a group. Call it group 1. I can rename it. I'll go and call it colours, and now I've got a group called colours, and this little arrow here, if I click on that, it opens up the folder, it opens up that group. So now I've got 3 layers in a group. Okay, let's move on to blending. Here we've got another image that's got 2 layers in it. We've got our background layer and we've got a layer above it, and obviously we can't see through this layer, so we can't see the image underneath it. But what we can do, we can blend the top layer with the bottom layer, and we do that with blending modes. So if I just click this little triangle at the end of where it says normal, these are all the blending modes, and all these are just different ways of blending the top layer with the bottom layer, so and basically affecting the percentage of each one that you see. There's a lot of complex maths behind them. You basically just go and give them a go and see how they go. So These top four, these will darken, it'll show you the darkest colour. So here we've now got a bit of a blend going on where we've got this blended together with the image underneath. These top four just do different methods of blending with darkness. I can lighten, so now I'm looking at the lighter colour from both of the image, from both of the layers. And the overlay, this is the set that does contrast adjustments, so it basically makes the lights lighter and the darks darker. And then we've got a couple of sets which are more artistic. We've got difference. Ooh, yeah, that is a bit weird. And exclusion. It's not very good. Now sometimes these work and they work really good. Other times, depending on the colours, they don't work at all. Divide. Oh, well, yeah, some of these work really well. Oh, hue doesn't work bad. That's basically working with the colours. Let's try another one. Let's try colour. Oh, that's alright. That's giving us a little bit like a sepia tony thing, but it has got some little bits of colours coming through. Okay, let's have a look now at opacity and fill and what's the difference. Well, here we've got a 3-layer document. We've got a text layer which says opacity, which is this one, and we've got a fill layer which says fill, which is this one, and they're both on top of the background. Now the opacity layer, let's click on that to get it active. If I now click on the opacity slider and drop that down, you'll see that it's starting to get more and more opaque. And if I come right down to the bottom, basically it's gone. It's completely translucent. I can see through it completely. Now if I have the fill, it does exactly the same. I can drop that down and it becomes more transparent, and then I can't see it at all. So you say, well, what's the difference? Well, the difference is that the fill slider will not affect effects. So if I click on the fill again, I've got some effects here. I've got a stroke and a drop shadow, and I'm just going to switch them on. So you can see I've got a drop shadow, which is this dark area around the outside, and I've got a stroke, which is this red line around the outside of the text. Now if I go and select the opacity, it'll work exactly the same as it did before. It'll take it right down, and then eventually it's gone completely. But if I only want to affect the pixels in the image and not the effects, then I can go to my fill slider. And the fill slider, as I drop that down, you'll see that it will again, it'll make the pixels more and more opaque, but it has no effect whatsoever on the stroke or the drop shadow. Cool, eh? A good way of making like a transparent watermark, that. Well, that's about it, I think. I hope you've enjoyed our little journey into the world of layers. Certainly hope it was useful. If it was, give me a thumbs up or leave me a comment below the video. Please, if you get a minute, subscribe to my YouTube channel to get more videos on learning Photoshop and learning Lightroom. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.